Hi guys! So it's been a minute. Also, excuse the fact that I'm looking rather ridiculous with the eye makeup. Um, I felt like doing something crazy and blue, I guess. Well, I didn't. My friends were like, do something icy, because it's winter, and I was like, ugh, here we go. So I was like, so how do I do something kind of icy without looking ridiculously 90s? And I don't think I did a good job. So I just wanted to sort of get everyone caught up on where I've been and what I've been doing. So I was trying to do like a month-to-month update of how hormone replacement therapy was going, and then I kind of stopped. The big reason for that is I fell into a really, really big depressive low. And so I wasn't posting, I wasn't doing anything. And I actually fell off of taking my hormones every day. So I'm actually like technically like a month and a half behind of where I would normally be if I had just stayed on track. A month and a half to like 2 months, roughly. So it is now December, and I started in February. So this coming February will be a year that I've been on hormones. Like I said, give or take 2 months. So yeah, which is just weird. It's weird to think that it's already been almost a year, and that I've been, this coming spring will be 2 years that I've been out as trans, which is also really weird. But my hair's longer. I think I have new hair since the last time I was here. I have to go back and look at my last video. I think I was still green in my last video. But I'm blonde now. Jesus, I'm a mess. But yeah. So as far as where I'm at now, so February, March, April, May, June, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. So, yeah. Christ, that's a long time. So things that have changed. Again, like normal, my facial hair and my body hair has been getting thinner and it doesn't grow back nearly as fast. It's gotten to the point now where very recently I've started to barely notice my own facial hair, even when I have no makeup on, and which is really nice for me because facial hair is one of those really big dysphoric triggers for me. So that's lovely. I've been continuing to try to feminize my voice more on my own. I still think like I sound like a raging homosexual, but here we are. And no, nothing against raging homosexuals. I was one for quite some time. But that's just not the look we're going for anymore. That's not it. So, yeah, my face has changed quite a bit, and I didn't really notice until I saw pictures of me pre-transition, and even pictures of me like a couple years ago. But like I apparently used to have like a really harsh like cut jawline, which is I think it's because I see my face every day. I don't notice the changes as much until I see a comparison, right? Okay, my hair's doing this. But seeing old pictures of myself, I'm just kind of like, who is he though? I don't know who he is. So it's really weird. Let's see, what else has happened? I don't think I had... Did I have breast growth the last time we talked? Well, if we didn't, I now have very, very tiny breasts. Growing breasts hurts. Oh my god. It kind of feels like your entire nipple and areola is one gigantic bruise, and like you look at it wrong and you want to cry. Like, it's not fun. So yeah, so I'm getting used to like having space, or not having space here anymore, like having mass here. So that's interesting. I still plan on having top surgery at some point and getting a breast augmentation. I don't want like huge breasts, and I want them to look as natural as possible. My plan is to do a fat graft if I can. I'm not really a fan of the idea of using silicone or saline implants. I'd really rather just do a fat graft. That way it's still me in my chest, if that makes sense. But yeah, that's the plan, but that's still far, far down the road. So I've mentioned before that with my hormones specifically, my testosterone blockers are lower because I am keeping the functionality of the female penis, which contrapoints. A dear friend of mine has recently got me into watching Natalie Wynn, who is ContraPoints on YouTube. She's fucking hilarious. And I've seen at least 2 videos so far of hers, I've been binging, where she talks about the feminine penis and how it's different because of hormones and the things that happen. I have witnessed those changes in myself. So that's definitely something I can now say with absolute surety that I do not have a male penis. I have the feminine penis, the female penis, if you will, which is very nice. I don't want masculine anything, obviously, or else I wouldn't be here. But yeah, it's a lot of like. It feels like a lot of little things that are adding up to like obviously the bigger picture. I can't wait to see how much more I change. I really want to start seeing more changes in my body, like in the way my body is shaped and fat distribution and things like that, because I still carry a lot of my body fat in my stomach area, and it looks and feels very much like a manly kind of like beer gut look, which is not cute, right? I really would just like to take all of it and put it up here and we'd be fine, but sadly, it doesn't work that way. But I have noticed that I have become a lot more emotional. I was making fun of myself earlier today with a friend of mine, saying that I cry at the drop of a hat, which is very true. I've always been like a really emotional person, a really emotionally driven person, but now I really do. I cry at the drop of a hat. So when I fell off of hormones and then I went and saw my nurse and got back on them, I noticed the really like PMSy style bitchiness, and like I had no emotional control whatsoever. I was just a mess for a couple weeks while my body sort of reacclimated and rebalanced itself out. At least right now, with the dosages that I'm at, after I sort of equalized again, I now sort of have like monthly cycles of hormone bursts, so that like roughly once a month I'll be an absolute emotional PMSy wreck. But it's not a constant thing like it was when I first started. When I first started, oh my god, I was a nightmare. But my friends can attest to this. But yeah, relationships are difficult still. That's been fun. Which like I've talked about before, right? Like I recently got involved with somebody sort of very lightly and sort of, I don't want to say secretly, but like we just weren't talking about it to many people. And like he's somebody that I worked with. I was much more invested than he was, and he recently broke it off for a lot of the same reasons that I imagine most straight identifying men do, which is like I don't want to be gay or feel like I'm gay or have my friends tell me I'm gay, which is all like shit that happens when you date trans women. But in case it needs to be reiterated, trans women are women, therefore dating or having any sort of relationship, whether emotional, like whether romantic or sexual or both, with a trans woman does not make a man gay. So, I could go on a diatribe about that, but I don't really have the spoons. But even more recently than that, so that recently ended, and then I almost immediately sort of got involved with a friend of mine, and we have a sort of like friends with benefits thing going that's nice. it's nice to feel like wanted, right? This has nothing to do with hormones necessarily, but it's nice to feel wanted by somebody and for it not to feel fetishized, which I realized, I've been thinking a lot about like past relationships and doing a lot of like internal stuff. And one of that is that like the past sort of sexual relationships I've had since I came out as a woman have been very fetishized looking back on them. The men that I was with never stated anything like that. They were never outright like being like, I want to, have sex with you specifically because you're trans. It just looking back on it, the way they acted and certain things was just like, oh, that's what that was. Lovely. And this sort of leads into like the biggest thing that I've noticed at this point in my journey with HRT is that, and it's something I talked to my nurse about when I went and saw her last, is I'm dealing with a lot of trauma, a lot of past trauma that I thought I was over or that I had dealt with. And it's because of that really, your brain has this amazing ability to compartmentalize. I can't pronounce that fucking word. But basically like something traumatic can happen to you and your brain will put it in a box because it's like, we are not emotionally or mentally equipped to deal with this right now, so we're going to put it in a box and put it on the back shelf and we'll deal with it later. Well, now because I'm in a place where I'm so much happier with myself, and I'm not dealing with certain stresses and things like that I was pre-transition, my brain is now going, oh, we're happy, we're good, that means we're equipped to deal with these things, here you go. So it's nothing I want to be doing. Like one of the things I had to deal with for a while that I'm still not, that I have more or less come to terms with, is past sexual trauma that I experienced, that I kind of just put in a box. And I was like, no, it's fine, didn't happen. That sort of thing. So dealing with sexual trauma, dealing with the massive amounts of emotional abuse that I've been a victim of with past relationships, like those are the big things that are affecting me right now, and I'm sort of having to look at these things, deconstruct them, and say, okay, how are these affecting me now? What behaviors do I exhibit now because of these traumas, and like, how do I fix it? Which is all like a really long-winded way of saying I really need fucking therapy. So that's my next big step, is looking for a therapist, trying to find someone. My nurse suggested somebody that she knows, who works quite a bit with LGBTQ people, specifically transgender people. So I'm going to be looking into her, I think, and just sort of looking for therapy in general. I want to maybe get into a support group because one of my biggest struggles on a day-to-day level is that I don't have a lot of trans girlfriends. Most of the trans people I know, in fact all but one, that I know personally are all trans men, which is perfectly fine, because we can still have like relationships and we can still bond with each other over trans identity. But I really wish I had a girlfriend to talk to that understood the exact things that I'm going through, because I have girlfriends. Most of my friends are girls, just they're all cis girls. So while we can share certain things as far as a female experience to a degree, I can't, they can't necessarily empathize with me on very specific things that are very unique to trans identity and to trans woman identity, right? So yeah, so those are my two next big things. On a positive note, I'm very happy to say that I can finally go home again without it feeling weird. My father has been having a very, very hard time dealing with the fact that his son is actually his daughter, right? But over the Thanksgiving holiday, and since then, my father has very much turned around. I haven't gone home to see them. I've seen my mom. I haven't seen my dad yet just because of the work schedule that him and I are on. But my father has finally come to terms and is finally accepting. He's referring to me as Aura and is using the proper pronouns and all that kind of stuff, so I can go home and not be dead named and misgendered and have to sort of just, not say that I have to sit there and just sort of awkwardly take it, but I didn't want to start issues with my parents, right? But I don't have to do that anymore, and that's so amazing for me, because like I hated not being able to go home. My mom and I are very, very close, and I hated having to feel like I was sneaking around to avoid my father just to see my mother and to keep up the relationship my mother and I have. So that felt really terrible. And it also felt in a different way bad that like my father and I finally have built a relationship after years and years of being very toxic, only to have my burgeoning gender identities sort of destroy that again, and me having a lot of guilt of being like, you know, I did this, I destroyed my relationship with my father that I finally had because I couldn't just be happy as a boy, right? Which isn't fair, but like that's the feeling I had. And I know my father loves me, and he has loved me this whole time. He just had a really hard time coming to terms with it. And I think on some level he was sort of dragging his feet, hoping that if he just ignored it long enough, it would go away on subconscious level, right? I don't think he was actively thinking, oh, I could ignore it and it'll stop, like, because we all know that that's not how life works, right? But I think on a subconscious level, he was hoping that it could just go away and he wouldn't have to deal with it. But now he has. And that is fantastic. And I understand that I am very blessed and very fortunate to have parents that fully support me and that love me and that aren't casting me out of their life, because I know that's very, very common for trans and non-binary people. So I'm not trying to brag. I'm just trying to say that like I'm thankful that I am lucky enough to be one of these people that has supportive parents. It's everything, I think. You know, I've been gone for months and not a whole lot has happened. Like, I mean, a lot of stuff has happened, but it's not like a lot of events. It's very few events that have big impacts and big meanings, right? But hopefully I'm going to be back to being on here a little more regularly. I'm not going to promise anything because it's me. But yeah, hopefully I will see you guys again. Hopefully soon. Bye, everyone.